More from the book The Hunt itself on structural dissociation. We are in the tertiary structural dissociation chapter, which mostly is in reference to DID and other more severe dissociative disorders. The bits and pieces of this also relate to like cptsd level structural dissociation. This part is going to primarily be on host parts and child parts. The literature on DID often mentions the existence of a so-called host, the ANP that is out or in executive control most of the time. It has also generally been referred to as the original personality. However, in tertiary structural dissociation, no such original personality exists, nor is the host a non-dissociative part of the personality. Instead, the personality is divided into two or more dissociative parts, one or more of which may be considered the host. We prefer the term ANP because the host has the function of living normal daily life and has not, or not fully, realized the traumatization. Some DID patients may have severe dissociative parts, which have key positions in daily life and therefore could be called hosts, even though they may not be in executive control more often than others. I have cptsd and secondary structural dissociation, so I don't know much at all about tertiary structural dissociation or DID or DDNOS, etc. But something that I find interesting with structural dissociation theory in general is that there isn't really a core self or authentic self, or really even self, to my understanding. My husband and I often talk about how that is a hard thing for us to wrap our heads around with structural dissociation. We really like the idea of the core self that is in IFS and some other parts work. New passage. Most often, the host has some recognition of other parts of the personality, although a degree of amnesia may be involved. However, occasionally the host does not know about the existence of other dissociative parts of the personality and loses time when others dominate executive control. Another separate passage. Aside from the persecutory parts, child parts are probably the most common EP to be found in cases of chronic childhood abuse and neglect, both in secondary and tertiary dissociation. They are EPs that are often frightened and untrusting, and many are also clingy and needy. These latter are based on the defense action subsystem of attachment cry, with maladaptive dependency and insecure attachment. The focus of attention in child EPs is generally restricted to threat or attachment cues. Thus, the therapist may be perceived as a potential perpetrator, but one who may also provide comfort. Usually, child EPs are fixated in the time of the traumatization and are more numerous than ANPs. Non-realization may be severe and pervasive enough that they may literally experience themselves as actual children. Child parts may idealize the perpetrator, demonstrating extreme non-realization of their history. Sometimes they deny that they have the same parents as other parts of the personality. They often lack the judgment or skills necessary to cope with daily life situations. Other child parts of the personality may actually be ANPs, mediated by action systems such as play, exploration, or attachment, who have been fixated in early development of these action systems. These action systems would normally direct an individual to grow and develop mentally and physically. However, some ANPs of survivors of chronic childhood traumatization may not have experienced mental growth, but rather have become fixated in time and development to a greater or lesser degree once daily life began to include ever more neglect and abuse. These ANPs involve the comforting, avoidant illusion that life did not proceed to the harsher realities and that all is good. Thus, they may only want to play or be social to the point of naivete. And final quote, it's a dark one. Sometimes child parts that play may constitute not only the play action system, but also a reenactment of sexual abuse, which was presented to them by the perpetrator as playing games.